welcome back to my channel. This is Becky. In this episode, I wanted to talk about some common cognitive distortions that I've worked with over the years, both with family members, clients, students, colleagues, even superiors who have had some of these distortions that we've had to have conversations about. One is fortune telling. This is when someone thinks that they can predict that a situation will turn out badly without adequate evidence. Believe me, there's times where my intuition has said, ooh, I don't know about this one. We'll see how this plays out. But usually I err on the caution that my internal compass might not be right. And so then I usually hold back and I let the situation kind of play out. But not everybody does that. So there are a lot of people who think, oh, I know it's going to go bad, so now I'm going to go take action to prevent that from going bad, when you never knew that that was actually going to happen. And now you might have created problems and roadblocks that would have never existed had you just been patient and sat back and kind of waited for more information. Another distortion is emotional reasoning. And this is when someone believes that their thoughts must be true because they feel a certain way. And I know many people that kind of battle with that, believing that they know what's going to happen. And I try to help people understand, God's the only one that knows what's going to happen. So be careful on thinking that you know what God's going to do in your life, and just stay humble. Another distortion is an all or nothing thinking. And this is when someone thinks in absolute terms, such as all good or all bad with nothing in between. And I believe that life is all about lessons and blessings. So if something quote unquote bad happened, well, then that was meant to teach you something and present you with an opportunity to learn and grow. So the all or nothing kind of thinking is definitely a distortion that we address. Another one is labeling, and this one is a pet peeve of mine. I'm in the middle of writing my own personal book about please get to know me before you start to label me. I've already got that copyrighted and patented, so now I've just got to finish writing the book. But this is when people assign a label either to themselves or to someone else based on a single experience or characteristic. I am not even lying here. I have had people who simply look at me and will make up a whole story of who I am, where I came from, what my life was like, what it's been like, what it is, and it's all wrong. But they treat me based on whatever story they've created in their head. They never even spoke to me, never even said hello, but had already determined that I was their wife in a past life, and now I've come back for them and they're going to marry me, that kind of stuff. So we address a lot of different distortions, which leads into the next one, which is mental filter. Focusing on negatives in a situation and ignoring the positives. There are a lot of times where people only want to see one side of the story, and I help them shine light on both sides of the story so they have a full picture when they're making decisions moving forward for themselves. Another distortion is just world thinking, and this is when someone assumes that everyone and everything is balanced and judged fairly. These are your, love and light and rainbows and butterflies are only in the world kind of people. Some of them maybe have never experienced. They were blessed enough to have been born into the perfect family for them and perfect environment and had everything going great. And they've never had to experience heartache and loss and hardships. Or some who have learned, like myself, how to be the dandelion or the flower that's growing up through the crack in the concrete that everybody keeps stepping on, and you just learn to be more resilient in order to survive in this world. And both are, and every other way in between is an okay way to live. It's what your soul needed through this incarnation. But back to the other distortions, we have discounting the positive. This is when you disregard the positives in the situation. This is people who only see the storm clouds, and that's where someone like me comes in and points out the silver lining in those clouds and says, oh, well, what about this? God seems to be pointing you in that direction. Another distortion that I help people with, and I actually like this one, and it's easy to get caught up in with myself, is magical thinking. Because there is an element of magic to life. I mean, the odds of us even being able to have this, carbon-based AI life form that our soul gets to embody and move around like, an animated Sims character getting messages from source of life and God and all of the ascended masters and Jesus and everybody. So there is a magical component to life. And so these people can get caught up in believing that actions will influence unrelated situations. So, well, if I do this over here, then it's going to make that happen. And then realistically, the two are on parallel tracks, and one does not equate the other. And so I come in and usually help them be able to break down things into more realistic goals in order to achieve the dream that they're trying to accomplish. Another distortion that we deal with a lot is personalization. And this is when a person feels personally responsible for the actions or others or events that are outside of their control. This happens, I think, a lot to parents who really take parenting seriously. They can be called the helicopter parents, right? They take on their children's stress load instead of allowing their children to learn how to manage stress for themselves. So we deal with that as well. Another distortion that I help people with is called minimizing, and I know this is one that I can be guilty of when life is really kicking me when I'm down. This is when people minimize the significance or the importance of events and situations. It might be, have a broken leg, but I'd be like, no, I'll just walk it up, it'll be fine, I don't need to go to the emergency room. I'm being over dramatic, but sometimes in life there are situations where we try to minimize, how bad the situation is. Oh, I don't want to look at the checkbook because I know it's not going to be pretty, but I know I have to look at that checkbook kind of a moment. So we look at those distortions and help each other through that. Another distortion that I help people work through is the fallacy of change. And this is believing that others need to change their behavior in order for you to be happy. And so, happiness is an inside job, and there are a lot of times where people are trying to get their happiness from the other people around them doing and saying things that they think will make them happy. But that is a distortion that I can help them with. Another distortion is blaming. This is when people blame either themselves or others for the problems or mistakes that are not in their control. We have to remember that God and the universe has their hand at play. So blaming other people for your situation being what it is never helpful. If anything, it just kind of puts more roadblocks. You want more people on your team than you want, working against you or working, with other people and then not including you in that team. You want to be able to be hands and feet of Christ no matter where you are on the planet. And another distortion is overgeneralization. And this is when people make broad assumptions based on a single or a few events. And I know that I've experienced that myself. Like I've said, I've had people that make false accusations and assumptions and make things up to try to slander my name and my character for whatever reason. I don't know, but you just learn where your attention goes is where your money flows. And so you just learn to keep the attention on yourself, moving forward towards your goals, making money, taking care of your family, and helping improve the lives of those that are around you. And then that can be blessed by God, because what you can do with little shows him what you can do with much. And so you want to work with what little you got and show him that, okay, God, you gave me this hand to work with, and this is what we're doing, and I'm moving and I'm shaking and I'm trying to do the best I can with what you've given me, and I look forward and I am grateful to whatever blessings you have in store, and keep bringing on whatever obstacles that you need me to face, Lord, in order to be the vessel that can be your hands and feet and be the best version of itself while representing the Lord Most High here on the planet. And if you've made it this far, thank you for putting up with me. I know I can talk a little fast, and you can always slow down the speed on your YouTube channel if you need to, or you can watch me a couple of times. That's all right. Anyway, I better get going. I'm so grateful for you, and I look forward to talking with you in my next video. Have a great day.